Hi everyone, it's me, Kae Pea. I'm here in my studio, the Moon and the Maker, home of Rubber Moon, and I'm getting ready for day number 19 of World Watercolor Month. Unbelievable. So let's see, I'm going to stop real quick and go and turn on a light that I forgot to turn on. I know there's a lot of glare here, but brighten it up a little. So good morning, good morning, good morning. I am really excited to be here. In a way, I thought I was going to be gone today, and so I was going to pre-record, but I ended up staying home because Mr. Moon is sick, and so he's feeling horrible, and I didn't want to leave him. So I will be pre-recording tomorrow's because I am going to be gone tomorrow. So I thought real quick before we got started, and while we're sort of waiting for people to join us, we could just look back at the past 18 days real quick, just because it's sort of fun to see them all and to see how much work we have produced in just such a short amount of time. And remember, this is only the 18 days. This does not even include some of the extras because many of the days I have done multiples, more than one. And so I only kept the one that I felt represented the day the best in here. So we'll go ahead and get started, and then I'll just launch into, our day number 19. Okay. So this was day one, and I felt it was really appropriate to start with a moon. And all these again are done on 300-pound cold pressed watercolor paper, cut to 3 by 4 inches. Okay, so we have day number one. Day number two, I started with the Frida Kahlo stamp from Sandra Evertson. Of course, all the stamps are RubberMoon stamps, but I have really tried to include a lot of our different artists, and I still plan on doing some, using some stamps from Sunny Carvalho and also from Natalie Kalbach. So I still have a few other artists that I want to include their designs, but we're just barely a little over halfway through, so I still have time. So, okay, so number two, day number three, and we didn't really do any stamps in this one. I have a couple other ones of these that I did with a similar style where I did use some stamps, but I guess I just didn't grab the one that had the stamps in it, but that's okay. Day number three. Day number 4, 5, using Mindy Lacefield's Girl in Galoshes stamp, which I love. Yes, thank you so much. I'll make sure to tell him. I just saw your comments wishing him well. Thank you. I think he just has this horrible, horrible stuff that's been going around. So, and then back to moons, but this one was using the Stamp Strax collection. A little bit of Stamp Strax, I think, from the 1 and number 2 Stamp Strax sets. Again, more with Stamp Strax, creating sort of characters and imagery using the Stamp Strax. And this was day 7. I hope I have them in order. I think I do. Day number 8, using Elizabeth St. Hilaire's Bloom stamps. And then this was day number 9, just using a few of my own personal stamps, or, my own stamps that I designed. Well, mostly, not all of them. The heart and the stars were not designed by me, but the face and the word imagine and the butterfly wings were. And this, again, was day number 9. Day number 10, using the Scenic Stamp Strax and doing a little bit more of an illustrative style just because of the black outline. Sort of did, I guess you could say this is really the first greeting card that I did, because I really imagine it as a greeting card. And I used Joni Hallmark stamps mostly. This one is, the little word stamp is mine. And then this one using Kim Geyser stamps. And I love this. I love the way this turned out a lot. And we're on day 13. Sort of, I guess you could say, a little still life. And then this one is day 14, just seeing what you could do with just blobs of color. So that was really fun. Day 17, and this is just one stamp, and then I kind of showed how you could fill in and just sort of expand on your stamp with a few pencil lines and some quick washes. That was fun. And this is really funny because I think this has been a fan favorite, which is so, so simple. It's just a wash of color. You let it dry and then you over stamp with some words and let them be sort of messy and washy. And that was day 16. And everybody really seemed to love this one. Day 17, we just did a little fun collage, sort of watercolor collage using some stamps and just a lot of mark making. And finally, day number 18, using Sandra Evertson's Tree of Life and actually taking the paper to the stamp instead of taking the stamp to the paper. So, I mean, isn't it fun just seeing? I'm going to lay them all out later on today, and I'm going to include day 19 with it, and I'm going to take a picture from above so you can see them all together. But it's really fun to see the collection take shape, and it's really also fun, I think, to see the similarities in your work. When you amass enough of a collection, you can really begin to see your style emerge, and that's pretty exciting. So I hope you're having as much fun as I am. I know I've said this many times, but I really just look forward to this time. It's been so good for me and my schedule. It's really fit in pretty well, and I look something to do again soon because I know I'm going to miss this terribly when this month is over. So we'll have to look up some of the other fun months because I'm sure they have like mixed media month and all this stuff to get the creative juices flowing. All right, so again, we are going to be using the same stuff we've been using every day, and that is 300-pound cold press watercolor paper cut to 3x4 size. This is what we're going to sort of be doing today. And I know many of you who have joined me for Let's Get Makey Premium and who have joined me in classes have, pretty much seen me do this similar technique or the same technique really, except for not necessarily in watercolor. So I'm kind of excited about that. I'll show you a couple samples and talk about what I'm doing. I'm going to be using, again, the Stamp Start collection, but this time it is the tracks, which I designed especially to make little buildings and cityscapes and like neighborhood type things. All, again, organic shapes in the sense that I did never use any kind of square or perfect rectangle or anything to make any of these shapes. They are all just free-handed. And I know Emily has taken this class from me in person, but we did it with acrylics. And this is when we first met, right, Emily? And so I think she really likes this, and I do too. So we're just going to give it a little bit of a twist using watercolor instead of acrylic. I do have a couple samples I'll share with you just to sort of show you how fun these can be all together. Sorry, I was trying to read the comments, and I shouldn't do that because it really gets me off track. So I'll stop it. Anyway, these are done with acrylic paints, and they're on 3x3 panels, so cradled panels, as you can see. But I wanted you to at least get the idea. And I've done these. This is what's crazy is I have done these at all different times. Like I think I did 3 of them together at the same time, and then I did 3 more for a Let's Get Makey Premium demo. Much later, it was much later. So like even a year or so in between, but you can see you can really still get them to all work together. And it's really fun because you can mix and match these. You can stack them up. You could hang them. You could set them on a tabletop. You could hang them in rows like this up and down, or you can arrange them and hang them just all sort of willy-nilly, or you could arrange them do it, they really play nicely together. And so there's no reason why you can't do basically the exact same thing, only in watercolor. And so again, we are, working on the small 3x4 size, but you could easily translate this to, larger pieces of paper, 6x6s, 8x8s, whatever. Just the sky's the limit. You could do something huge if you wanted to with this. I think it'd be really fun. In fact, as soon as I get the chance, I have this new paper that I bought. It's these mixed media art boards, and I haven't had the chance to use them yet. They're really nice because again, they're great for watercolor, but they're really heavy, super heavy. And so I think I want to experiment and do a large piece on one of these boards. So if I do that soon, I will definitely share it with you. But in the meantime, we're going to make these small ones, and you'll see how nicely they can also work together. Now, I have a little bit different of a color palette, and I will share what I'm using with you. But we're going to use something a little bit different today. We're going to use this Art Graph water soluble graphite. Comes in this nice little tin. I believe we do still have some at rubbermoon.com if you're interested in buying it. I'm not 100% sure though. I'm sorry, I don't know that information. I should have looked it up before I came online. But if Mr. Moon or Maxie Moon are watching this, maybe they can look and see. But if not, I promise I will add this also to my Amazon favorites link. Okay, because you're going to love this. So it's basically like you can stamp and make it look like a penciled outline. Okay, so we're going to use the Art Graph as our sort of outline for our windows and windows. We're not going to do any doors. And then I do have my little crystal palette here. Don't you love that? I just love having a crystal palette. Anyway, I have some colors already squeezed out. I have a little bit of this quinacridone red light right here, and that's just the tiniest bit. I might need to get a little bit more, but I also have this Venetian red. I have some grays. I have my gray of gray, which is a Holbein color. And then I have an I don't know, I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce this, but I think of it as Ardois gray. And I have that a little squeezed out here, and a little bit of neutral tint here. And then I have a Titan buff, and I have a manganese blue. Okay, so I got those colors. But of course, whatever, you could do this in really bright colors. That would be super fun. So whatever palette sort of draws you in, that's what you should use. Because there's nothing saying that you can't have a super bright, funky, colorful city or buildings or anything. I just, I mostly don't work in real pale colors like this. So I just thought it would be sort of fun for a change. We're going to start the same way we always do, and that's by inking. And when I say inking, I don't really mean inking. I mean painting our stamps. And we're going to use the graphite as our outline color or stamp color. And I hope I did show you. Yes, I did show you. So this is the Urban Whimsy stamps. I just have a few of them pulled out here, and I actually have one that is not an Urban Whimsy stamp. This is actually from the Creative Element collection, and it's called Maud Marks Light. I really like that. But any of these will work great. You could use the single light brick if you wanted, just to put the windows, space them where you want them instead of using this row. It doesn't matter. Like, you just play and have fun. Just grab which shapes and things that call to you and just go to town. And always deciding. And you know what? I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to stop for a second. I'm pretty sure they turned off the AC, and I can't have the AC off. Oh, again, I'm super sorry if it is loud. I'll try to talk a little bit louder, but it's way too hot. I can't all die in here. I have all the doors shut, and the lights blaring, and yes, AC is definitely necessary. And Mr. Moon is not feeling well. I don't want him actually working today, but you know, he insists that we're too busy and he has to work. So, but I am sending him or taking him to the doctor later today. Yeah. So, I should say again, but that's a long story. So we won't go into all that. But so anyway, I'm just going to stamp these randomly. Okay. And I don't care again if my outline is perfect. It's completely fine. And I'm going to, of course, do it a little bit differently than this one because I really want them to just maybe work together. Although I am using the same shapes, which, you know, can be a good thing or not. Maybe I want a little more variety, but this is just what I already have pulled out. So. Now, the other thing that you can do, and I was looking for one, you can always use like a small little craft mat, or if you have a red rubber palette. I don't know if any of you have seen the red rubber palette. If you have a small red rubber palette, you could use that. You could use a gel press plate, and you can actually spread out some of your watercolor and stamp into it if you don't want to have to brush on color every single time. Although it does sort of dry up on your palette kind of quickly anyway. Evaporates, which is the word I had such trouble remembering the other day. So on this one, I'm going to clean the stamp off because right now I think I just want to use 3 of the little rectangles instead of all 5. So you can do that, of course, by making sure your stamp is clean and dry. And then just painting in the ones that you want. And honestly, I don't know if 3 is going to be enough, but try it anyway. All right. And let's do one more. Let's do another 1 or 2 of these. All right. So there's my base, and it's just like I said, no real rhyme or reason. I haven't really thought that much about the, you know, the colors of the buildings or the where they're going to go. I just randomly stamp those around, and then I'll figure out my outlines after. The nice thing about it is that graphite, again, will sort of you know, it will still reactivate a little bit when you brush color over it. So it kind of do that little bit of, if you're doing a cityscape, it kind of gives you that little bit of grunginess that, you know, you might expect to see on city buildings. Now, so right here, I don't know if you can see this okay. I have that red, really watering it down. And you can see I just want a wash that is basically, again, kind of like a stain. And I'm just going to go straight to my paper and start painting in with this wash. I chose my red color first. And I kind of found that if I sort of avoided like the little window areas and left a little bit of white around them, I kind of like the way that looks. And the other great thing too, if you're doing this sort of cityscape kind of look, you know, it's okay if the color is not like perfectly gradient and all that, because remember, like if you look at a city, you see all sorts of striations on buildings or little areas where things are peeling and, you know, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna let that dry because after I will go back in and give little hints of things like brick and stuff like that. But I'm gonna let that dry and I'm gonna go over here and I have my gray of gray. You can either use, you can mix it up a little bit if you wanted to. I like to even sort of mix it with a little of the Titan buff and it gives you like this little darker taupey color. So just smush up some of the paints that you have. And then again, it may mix a little bit. If you get kind of close in on some of those window shapes, it's gonna mix a little bit with that graphite. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of that gray again and mix it with a little bit of the manganese blue, just to make sort of a bluish gray. And I might even pull in a little bit of my neutral tint, tint that up a little bit, and just keep mixing the color till I get sort of a hue that I like. And then I want to water it down again and make a nice wash. I just want enough of a differential too between this gray and the next gray that I mixed up. And you have a great brush that comes to a nice point, that's really, really helpful. If you don't have a brush that you love or you feel you struggle with it, again, I recommend that you get a brush that you really like and you like the feel of it and you like how much water it holds and you like the point that it comes to. All right, and there's a little bit of a differential there, but not that much because as you can see, it's the same value. Okay, so I'll let this dry and then I'm gonna go in and deepen some of that and add some texture, but these are just my first little layers. So now here, this is the Ardois gray, and I think that'll be a nice sort of building color. Also, I just started thinking about something really quick. Um, hey Jan, I just looked up at your comment, and Amazon doesn't carry the gray of gray. I'll get some pretty soon. And oh no, I'm sorry, it's not core. That's why core doesn't carry gray of gray. It's only Holbein. Okay, so try for Holbein. But if you can't get it for some reason, then I will order some soon. Anyway, so also, Jan, I was going to address this to you. I saw your comment the other day about coming back to Oklahoma, and I am supposed to come in September, but we just have not firmed up a date. And I honestly don't know if I'm going to be able to now or not. I've had something kind of come up that may prevent me from coming, but I don't know yet. So I'll definitely keep you posted. And so I don't know if you can kind of see what I did here. So when I painted down this gray color, I ended up making sort of this stripe. I don't know if I want to call it a stripe, but where my when I went straight down like that, and then I went across to sort of fill in between the windows, it ended up leaving sort of this little saved white space, and I really like that. So I'm going to keep that, and I'm not going to fill it in. I'm going to let these dry now, these little sections, because I want to be able to go back in over the top and, add more value, more texture, things like that. So I'm going to go over here. I think I'm going to pull in a little bit more of my Ardois gray again. As you can see, I barely have any on here. You don't need much, especially when you're working this small, but this is nice and translucent. So I'm going to use it sort of to just create a little more definition and value here. And of course, what else is cool that you can do, you could also take some of the stamps still from your collection, and then you could do things like add texture back with a little bit of stamps if you want to. So here I'm gonna just a few little dots or whatever, nothing too heavy, just a little touch here and there. I'm going to take, I think this pink part should be dry enough now. I'll take a little bit of my Venetian red. And what I did, I went through my color chart and I chose like a brick color red. This is probably not a color that I reach for very often. It's really not in my favorite color palette, but it's a nice sort of, I don't know, brick red. And so I'm just going to put some little touches of that. And of course, you could use a stamp for this if you wanted to. I'm not that particular about doing it, so it's all good to me. And this is where, again, if you like, just doodling, and it's great practice also for mark making or for seeing how thick or thin you can get your lines, how light you can get your washes, all that stuff comes into play. If you want to give like a little indication of a doorway, you can just do some darker, darker spots. I don't know if I like that, so let's pull it out. Anyway, and then I'll go in and also paint in my windows. I like to do my windows either in a little wash of yellow or a little wash of blue. But the nice thing is that, again, a little bit of that graphite will sort of reactivate, and it just gives sort of a tint or, a a little extra color that isn't such a bright yellow, and sort of just helps it to still fit in with the palette. Yes, and I right here I just have a little bit of cobalt because again I have this sitting on my table like I always do, so I'm just pulling a little bit from that. And again, I don't want my cobalt teal to be super bright, so it's just such a thin wash, and it mixes with that gray, and I like the way that looks. Again, for this palette, you know, if I was doing real super bright stuff, then I might want my windows to be really super bright. And lastly, you may want to go back in again. Well, not lastly, but close to lastly. You may want to go back in with a little bit of like, and I think of neutral tint as sort of like the shading gray of watercolor, because shading gray, they do have a shading gray color in the high flow, but that neutral tint is like a shading gray for watercolor, and I really like it. So you could use a little bit of that to sort of grunge it up a bit more, or do things like just again sort of tone on tone almost, and give some other details. In the buildings, things like that. All right, and then finally I'll definitely put in a sky, and I'm going to just use straight manganese blue, I think, for that. Of course, if you have more room up here, if you made your buildings a little smaller, you could always do something fun with the sky, like put in some stars and moons or suns and clouds, things like that. But I'm just going to make it easy. And I'm going to make my sky just a little bit darker, just to give a little contrast. And voila, you have a little cityscape, and they go really cute together, right? Oh, I love it. Although, you know, if you were going to put them together, then you probably want the skies to sort of match up. Maybe I'll just darken this sky just a little bit. And voila, you would have pieces that really can uh, complement each other, hang together, or you could, if you were making this into a card, you can make a cute little diptych or triptych, whatever you want, but it's super fun and another way to splash your stamps. I know I'm so easily excited. So thank you so much, as always, for joining me. Been together 19 days straight, and I love seeing you all here so much. Please remember that. Oh, you know what? I am going to tell you. couple things. I am, for those of you who are near to St. Louis or, you know, are interested in coming to St. Louis for an in-person Let's Get Makey, I already have our September and October dates planned, and I will be putting up a button for signups today. Okay, so I hope you'll look for that if you're interested in coming. I also wanted to tell you that I do have a couple. I know the other day I said I would do this while supplies last. If anybody places any kind of order, you'll get this core color chart and a little small sampler for watercolor. Okay, so I only have a few left, so it'll be last for orders today. Okay. Anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate you all. I think I say that every time, but I mean it every time. Have a wonderful day. I hope you get makey, and I'll see you tomorrow. Now, tomorrow will be pre-recorded, okay? But it'll go up at 11. So thanks again. Have a great day, and talk to you soon. Bye. I'm saying bye, but I'm going to look at the comments now and see if there's any questions. All right. And then I'm going to hang, and then I'll just click off. But I'm sure I'll say bye again because I can't help myself. So Sandy Puff said, I came in late, so were these pieces glued together or were they just random stamping? Yes, they were just randomly stamped using a few of these off the Urban Whimsy collection, just a couple of the. And I just randomly stamped them and then painted around them to create little buildings. And let's see. Yes, I hope you do have fun tonight. I'm so excited. Thank you. I'll make sure everybody does know. I'll make sure that Mr. Moon knows you're thinking of him. Thank you so much. And Linda said something, I do have extra cling, just too lazy to redo a stamp. What do you need? Did you want them in cling or you have them? Let's see. I mentioned before, but how do we clean the cling stamps so they stick to their color? Okay. Linda says, not sure if you've mentioned it before, but how do we clean the cling stamps so they stick to the acrylic blocks? So if you have stamps that no longer stick, that's because this got a lot of oils on your finger, from your fingers, or they got dirty. And so they won't be, they're never really sticky. They only cling. So if they're not clinging anymore, that means either your block is dirty or your stamp is dirty. You can always take and clean this really well with like a baby wipe or something. But I will tell you, if it stops sticking altogether, or somehow, the cling got removed and it won't do it again, you can use repositionable tape. Like you can keep your packaging on here, your transparency, and use repositionable tape to just basically make them sticky. Okay, but it's not permanent. This is repositionable. So that's what I would do, because yes, the cling does sort of go away after a while, especially on your stamps that you use a lot, or especially on the tiny stamps. So, all right, I think that seems like all the questions. If there's any more, of course, message me. I will just say again, I know many of you are already gone, but if you would like to make a donation to me for World Watercolor Month, I really appreciate it. I give these classes or demos, I guess they're not really classes, of course, so willingly and freely, and I appreciate you all being here so much. But any donation to this helps me to be able to make more free content for you all. And also, if you do give any kind of donation at the end of this month, when we're all done with Watercolor Month, I will send whoever donated any amount, I will send you one of the watercolors created during the month. So you'll get a little 3x4 and it'll be random. So anyway, but of course it's not necessary. I appreciate you and I'm honored just to be here. I hope you have a wonderful making day. Mwah! Love you to the moon and back, and I'll see you soon.